The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
And here we go.
You're in the recruiting hour on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
You're the 2 o'clock.
Yes, I am.
Here are your hosts, Mike Schaefer and Connor Happer. Brought to you by Bubbles and Blocks.
I can't even start the show right now. Welcome into the recruiting hour. I am Mike Schaefer. I have returned. And about 20 seconds before we're about to go on air, I completely wrecked the microphone in front of me. So it is just dangling. It just looks like it is going to just die right here. And yeah, that's my return back to the recruiting hour. And I don't even know where to go from here, but we're going to do a show. We got Connor Happer over in Indy. I'm here in the studio in Lincoln. He has just spoken with Scott Frost, and so we're going to dive right into that interview as people around me will look to solve the issues that I have created. Happer,
what?
How's it going?
What is happening over there? We leave and nothing works, and Schaefer comes back and breaks everything. Classic.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't intentional.
I know it wasn't intentional, but you know, it doesn't seem like a coincidence either. You know,
I pulled the microphone down towards me and it just fell off. And I just looked at Mark and I didn't know what to do. And he just started laughing uncontrolled.
So you have a different microphone now, which is fine.
Yeah. I don't know. Mic 2, mic 4. 4? Mark says it's 4. So we're good to go.
Cool.
This is a fitting return though.
Oh, yeah.
This is just what you expect.
What do you want to talk about?
So, all right. You gotta sit down with Scott Frost. Rico's struggling here next to me. This is incredible. And this is all on the stream, I would imagine.
It definitely is. I'm watching it right now. Yeah.
People can just watch.
Yeah.
You had a chance to sit down with Scott Frost today. Obviously, has spoken several different times. He had his podium session. He had his breakout group. He met with Radio Row. He just told DP that DP can sit in for him on future interviews because they're almost doppelgangers. And so
weird day.
That's what's been going on. How was it sitting down with Scott Frost, and what did you learn today that maybe you didn't know coming into it?
I don't know. I Trev Alberts and that I just kind of wanted to see what they would say about that. And they're all on the same page there, which is good. Nothing newsy as far as Nebraska is concerned. Maybe that the guys with knee injuries are, it sounds like Fedoni is actually has a chance to play a little bit this year, which is something. I don't know, not too much news wise, but just it's good to obviously there's been a lot of questions about NIL and I mean, even realignment and stuff like that. But we talked a good amount of football too, which is good.
Yeah, well, it's nice to talk football on a football-oriented day. What's Lucas Oil like? Do you like this setup? Are you going to be pounding the table to have Big Ten Media Days move to Indianapolis at a full rate, or are you missing Chicago a little bit?
I don't think it needs to be Indianapolis, but this is the correct setup. This is they're just using the entire football field, and they have all the room. I mean, you've been to a media days before, Schaefer. They have all the rooms that normally, would be in separate rooms or on different levels of a hotel. And maybe sometimes we're in the basement and it's all here. It's all on the field. We're all within 100 yards of each other. And that is a positive thing. It doesn't need to be in Indy, but Indy is a fitting place for it. This is a beautiful place. I've never been here before.
So watching it earlier this morning, I was struck by this observation that is probably going to sound really dumb, but when they have it in a stadium like that, and then they introduce these coaches or these teams, and it's like you have maybe the music playing, like when Scott Frost came out, the Nebraska fight song was playing.
Yeah.
I almost want them to take a page out of the NFL draft where they have different cheering sections that people are there making noise, because it just felt so bland. First of all, Mike Loxley, no one was asking any questions.
Tough.
So that in itself was kind of not great, but there's just you get a coach and he's mentioned, and there's no noise. There's just like awkward transition where they're deciding whether they're going to shake hands or whatever Kevin Warren's going to do. But it's almost like they need some sort of atmosphere around it. I know that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Schaefer,
but when you put it in a football stadium like this, it's even magnified versus a hotel setting.
maybe we pull back. Maybe we pull something back from 2020. Pumped in crowd noise. Pumped in crowd noise that could help, or torches or flamethrowers next to the stage, and they go whenever somebody comes out. I don't know. There's plenty of options. I'm the idea guy today, and I have thrown all my ideas to whoever will listen, whoever stops by our 93.7 The Ticket booth.
Well, give us an example. I mean, you can't just say that. Well, give me 2 other ideas you've pitched so far.
Well, I have been told. I told you that I passed along safety dads to the people who need to know. And there seems like there is an interest level. So, I'm not getting my hopes up, but I need it, Let's see. Another idea that I pitched. Oh yeah, I can't remember who I told this, but I wanted to go up to the way up there. Yeah, you can't really see where I'm pointing, but
No, we can't.
I want there's a big old, deck on the top. No, there's the whole the top of the stadium. No, not the catwalk, because I don't want to go up there. That's terrifying. But the back of the stadium has this window, behind one of the end zones. They have these windows here, which is great. Love natural light, by the way. I'm a big natural light guy. That's another idea that I have. Just go up there and somebody throws me a football, or I throw somebody a football from there. This is, I'm a content machine, Schaefer.
Can you describe to the people at home how far away the first guy was that asked a question that Scott Frost claims he couldn't throw the football to?
Oh yeah, no, he was the media. So the stage, the back row of the media would be probably, there's yard markers so we could figure it out, but it's kind of diagonal. It's probably 40 yards, which I think Scott Frost could probably throw a football 40 yards. Yeah, I think he could, but that seemed like a joke. But yeah, there was definitely far away.
I now kind of want our stats department to look up Scott Frost's longest completion, and if it was over 40 yards. I expect that it was.
Had to have been.
Because it certainly seems like that was near the era in which the fake option pass would yield a wide open wide receiver running down the middle of the field.
No doubt.
But Scott Frost was not known for his passing acumen, as most of those quarterbacks weren't.
That's true.
The 90s. So,
and he admitted
maybe
it.
his long is 38 yards.
It's possible. I think he could throw a football 40 yards, though. I just because I could throw a football 40 yards.
Well, you're known for your athletic feats, so we hear about it all the time.
That is true. People forget that, Schaefer.
No one does. Literally, I just did not.
Thank you for not forgetting. Finally, somebody didn't forget.
You're welcome. I try not to forget because I know you accuse everyone of forgetting.
Yeah, people forget. I'm just saying.
All right, so earlier today, Scott Frost was up at the podium. There was a couple questions that I found kind of interesting. I want to walk through a couple of these and just get your general thoughts if it was a just in the moment answer, or if you think there's maybe more there. But I thought that among the most interesting stuff from just the podium, the first time he spoke at around 10:30, was when someone asked him directly what position group he was most excited about. And he came out and said the offensive line. And I feel like that's a good sign that it wasn't something on the defensive side of the ball, that it wasn't sort of like answering 4 different positions. And then he also basically sort of said the quiet part out loud, which is Nebraska has spent a lot of time investing in this offensive line. And now they feel like some of these guys, like your Bryce Benharts and your Turner Corcorans and your Cam Jurgens and your Ethan Pipers, are going to cash in on that investment. And I do think that, that it doesn't necessarily get lost, because nothing in the offseason when we talk Nebraska football gets lost. But I think it's really good when your head coach, that's the position group that he says when he's standing in front of the conference media.
Schaefer, are you feeling the itch? Is that a train I hear?
Well, you know that I'm a conductor at heart, and so obviously the offensive line train that we built last year that never got off the ground and never really left the station, we'll have another opportunity this year. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things I like about this offensive line, starting first and foremost with guys like Bryce Benhart and Turner Corcoran, Cam Jurgens that were highly rated. You have some experience sprinkled in there. But then the other thing that I sort of appreciate the most, and I think actually positions really well for Nebraska, is that they have a lot of depth, and they have interesting depth. They have sort of your steady veterans, like if they have to go to a Brock Bando. They have some intriguing guys like an Ezra Miller who spent last year kind of learning and is certainly a talented individual and was when he was a 4-star top 150 player going to Iowa before transferring to Nebraska. And then you also have some young guys that, and I'm not talking about, obviously we really like Henry Lutovsky and Teddy Prohaska. I'm not necessarily talking about them, but you have some other younger guys that could be pushing for their kind of first real playing time. It's sort of a really kind of fun position group right now because they have everything kind of sprinkled in. It's the one thing that you can look at from start to finish, or not finish because they haven't finished yet, but from the start to now, where it's sort of gone exactly as Nebraska would have put the blueprint up on December 4th, 2017.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, maybe parts of the defense too, if not like kind of the entire defense, yeah. But yes, that is a group that has grown to get, like last year was a little bit of a turnover year. You were plugging in a couple new pieces, but you did that and, you didn't suffer too many, or if any, real injuries. So they were able to get experience together, grow together, do that whole thing. And now they come back and they got a chance to really build on it this year, which that's what you want. And they'll, unfortunately with that group, they'll do it for a couple more years.
Right. I didn't mean to like gloss over the defense, but it's a little bit different when you're getting so many of those super seniors back.
Yes.
Relative to what that would look like necessarily if you weren't. And there's no real reason to even have that conversation, but it's just the way the offensive line has come together that if it actually clicks here in year 4 and then becomes something that this offense can depend on, which we know desperately they need. I just thought that was a great thing for Nebraska fans to hear right from Scott Frost's own mouth this morning, that he didn't immediately go to the defense, because so much of the conversation about this team is how it's veterans on defense and defensively led and leadership and all of that stuff. And so to go to a group like the offensive line, I think is just good. It shows, and obviously everything everyone hears today, we get it. Talk is cheap. This is still the talking season. Everyone wants to see it.
Oh, but don't you love talking? That. I love talking.
You do love talking.
People forget.
No one's forgotten that. So I just thought that was a good way for him to start. And then there was some other interesting stuff in there. I think it's, I would love to see which coach is going to get up and talk about NIL and not say that they're excited about the opportunities for student athletes, because I think that might be a potential career suicide at this point.
Yep.
But that's obviously going to be a big question for everybody these next 2 days. And, based on what Scott Frost said, did you feel like you really learned anything there? Because to me, and some of it is that they've been pretty out front on this, it just felt like he was able to kind of say a lot of the same stuff, because Nebraska has been really consistent with this, where maybe other programs haven't. Sipple and I were talking about this morning, and he was doing his thing where he was expressing some doubt or what. Simpleness.
Yeah. He's just like, I don't think I like this. And I'm like, Sipple, well, guess what? Here's the deal. We don't have to talk about it. It's not going to be a thing. And this is the thing that I kind of try to get in people's heads. I don't think it's going to be a conversation really at all during football season. It's an off-season topic for sure, and it's something that's new and people are wondering about this year. So it'll make the rounds. It'll get asked about. But I don't think this event, I don't think today has at all been drowned out by all that stuff. I don't think it's been drowned out by really any other thing. I mean, maybe with a little buzz of the Texas-Oklahoma thing and the conference realignment, maybe those questions would not have existed had that not happened yesterday. So no, I don't think we have learned a lot, but I didn't really expect to. Coaches are waiting to see, what the actual results are of this, and that's a long-term thing. That's a year or two down the line. Yeah,
absolutely. Nebraska has 3 players there today: Deontay Williams, Ben Stilley, Austin Allen. Different group than maybe you might have predicted normally, but like as Scott Frost said when he spoke this morning, and as Nebraska's information team had kind of let known, there was going to be some different players because of the circumstance with their season. Nebraska has one final off week before they start things up next year, or not next week, not next year. And so no Adrian Martinez, some other notables not there as well. But what did you kind of learn, or what did you glean from conversations with Deontay Williams, Ben Stille, Austin Allen today? Obviously, and I say this as only a compliment, you've never seemed more like a football analyst than in the video in which Deontay Williams was showing you some tackling stuff. It looked like we were on the set of the NFL Network, and you were holding the football, and it was like a former All-Pro linebacker, and you were just doing the whole like walk and talk and meeting the diagonal point thing.
Yeah.
It looked really good. I think you might have a future.
Well, I considered doing one. Yeah. Okay. I considered doing one of those things that I always make fun of, which is when you, for whatever reason, this has become a thing on TV where people walk from goal line to goal line and they're like, I'm going to walk 100 yards with somebody and interview them the whole time and act like that makes it a different interview or a cool interview or something like that. I was going to do that, but I've refrained so far. I may not. I don't know what's going to happen next, but we'll see. We'll see what kind of weird stuff we can get into over the next 2 days. Nebraska's gone after today, so tomorrow, who knows what happens?
Yeah. What did you learn from Austin Allen or Ben Stille?
Oh yeah, that was the question.
No, you're good. People forget the questions.
Thank you, Schaefer. People do forget the question. They're just excited to get going, I think, and just like everybody else, they're excited about, leaving the talk behind and doing it, and that's what I kind of expected from this team as far as their tone is concerned. As far as Nebraska is concerned, I just that feels like it's the tone to me. They don't really, and that shifted, by the way, from a couple of years ago. They don't really want to talk about it anymore, and it's just like, look, we got to go out there and do it, because if we don't, then it turns into nothing. So that was mainly the tone I got from them, and I hadn't talked to Deontay in in that context one-on-one really ever, and
great interview.
Yeah, he's super interesting. I like that guy, so we'll play that during the show later on today. But yeah, I mean, nothing groundbreaking, but and by the way, I mean, Frost praised Austin Allen, Deontay Williams, and Ben Stille, all three of them, like individually, their leadership and what they're doing and their roles on the team, for sure.
Yeah, I just kind of want to say this on Ben Stille. I never foresaw him being in a role in which I'd be like, oh, he's the leader of the defensive line room, in part because he's always been kind of a relatively quiet guy. And when he has had interviews, sometimes it's been more of a personal introspective look as to how things haven't gone right necessarily for him, more so than what is going on with necessarily the team. And I felt like last year in the off season, going into the 2020 season, around May or so, you saw him kind of vocally step into a social media leadership role. And then I think that's carried over with the team. And so I was really happy that he got this opportunity. I mean, he's going through this super senior year. He's someone who clearly wants to cap off a season at Nebraska with a bowl game, turn this thing in the right direction. And so, there's a lot to like there. And it tells you, or it tells me, that just because you have sort of these views on guys, because they've been here so long. I mean, Ben Stille entered the program in 2016? His freshman redshirt year, he was an outside linebacker for Bob Diaco, and his breakout game was the Illinois one.
People forget.
No one remembers these things, but that's how long some of these guys have been here. And they start one way, and you have sort of a preconceived belief as to who they are, and then they end up being an entirely different person. And I think Ben Stille is a tremendous example of that for me personally.
No, I think so too. There's no doubt about it. A lot has changed around those guys.
Yeah.
Since they've been here, that's for sure, and they've changed too. But I think that's kind of the mood with this team that I get, for sure.
Well, speaking of changes, we're going to get into Trev Alberts, who I haven't even had a chance to comment on because I was gone last week.
Oh yeah.
Before that, so we'll dive into that a little bit. Happer, you said you had a chance to sit down with him.
Yeah.
He spoke, obviously, with the media today. Scott Frost referenced his relationship with him and his happiness that this is who Nebraska ended up with as their AD. You know, right before you left on your trip, Nebraska moved on from Bill Moose, and we were wondering, doing a show as delicious meat was being smoked outside or around us, we were wondering what Nebraska was going to end up doing, and they end up with Trev Albert. So I'm excited to dive into this conversation. That's what we've got coming up on the Recruiting Hour next.
You're listening to Big Ten Media Days coverage from Indianapolis, sponsored by T.O. Haas Tire and Auto, Pillar Restaurant Group, and Ben Bleicher of Professional Realty Group of Woods Brothers Real Estate on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
I don't know about you guys, but I have been getting back out and hitting different restaurants, hitting different places, and I could not be more excited to get back to Bearshin in Benson, one of the best beer gardens around. The weather's starting to get good. And coinciding with that, they are going back to their full food menu. We're talking the burgers, the Johnny Hammer Pants sandwich, the pretzels, the fries, the salads, if you're one of those people. They got all of it. And they are now open Tuesday through Sunday. That allows you to get over to Bearshin, check out the food, the beer, hang out in the beer garden. You can get that $7 big cheese double Wagyu burger special on Tuesdays. Also, happy hour, 3 to 6, Tuesday through Friday. Don't miss it. Plus, if you're a soccer fan, it's the place to be in Benson.
Hello, Charlie Stone here, and joining me is Andy Goodyear, General Manager of Honda of Lincoln. Andy, are you there?
I sure am, Charlie. Great to talk to you again.
Andy, I know you're selling a lot of cars right now, but I hear you still have a lot of cars available.
We do, Charlie. In fact, we still have over 500 new 2021 Hondas to choose from in stock or on the way, with 0% APR financing available on select models.
What about new 2022 Hondas, Andy?
You know, we actually have quite a few in stock already, and they're arriving every day.
Now, I'm going to assume since you're selling a lot of new cars, you have some great trade-ins available too. How is the selection of pre-owned?
It's the largest selection of pre-owned we've ever had, Charlie, with over 160 to choose from. People can choose from just about any make and model you can imagine.
Thanks, Andy. Come experience the Honda of Lincoln way of doing business. 27th and Yankee Hill or online at hondaoflincoln.com.
Mike Schaefer here with 5-star childcare provider Lee Beecher from Bubbles and Blocks. Let's start with what makes Bubbles and Blocks special.
We have 3 beautiful locations in Lincoln that provide the safety, security, and reliability you need while also bringing a family feel to each classroom at every location.
I also hear some congratulations are in order.
Thank you. Yes, we just won the Lincoln Choice Award for Best Daycare and Preschool for the 3rd year in a row.
What should people do if they want to join the Bubbles and Blocks family?
Call to set up a tour to enroll your child today, or you can visit bubblesandblocks.com to apply to join our team.
Everyone loves a good deal, and there's plenty of great options right now at Brown Shoe Fit for their summer clearance sale. Check out their multiple sizes and widths and sandals with brands like Clark's, Keen, Atrex, and many more. Hurry in for the best selection because this sale only goes to the end of the month. It's the summer clearance sale at Brown Shoe Fit, just south of 66th and Q in Lincoln.
Is our internet down again? That's the question you hear around the office when you experience an outage with outdated communication services. Allo knows businesses need reliable internet to keep everything moving. This is why Tammy Stevenson of the Bridge Behavioral Health switched to Allo.
Expedient and reliable service is critical because we provide care to our clients 24/7. We're just very, very appreciative of Allo service.
To get a free quote, switch today. Visit allofiber.com/workfast or call 402-480-6685.
93.7 The Ticket. Fox KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
We will continue to warm things up here across the area as highs this afternoon up to around 91. A south wind at 15 to 20. And we'll see mostly sunny skies. Clear tonight with a low down to around 70. The heat really builds in for our Friday. Mostly sunny and a high of 97. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Get in, get out, and get your hands on a great career. At Southeast Community College, we have more than 50 programs of study to choose from, and our class sizes allow for more personal attention and a comfortable learning environment. Take a tour of our 3 campuses in Beatrice, Lincoln, or Milford, or visit the Career Advising Center if you're not sure where to begin. The fall semester starts August 23rd. Go to southeast.edu/academics to find your next step. SCC, your path to possible.
Summertime is here and the temperature is rising. Beat the heat at the Pawnee Plunge Water Park in Columbus all summer long. Pawnee Plunge features a full day of fun for the whole family, including the flow ride, the only one in Nebraska, a large swimming pool, diving boards, a lazy river, climbing wall, and of course, massive water slides. It's a great place for parties or a great spot to lounge around all day long. Book your party by calling 402-562-4269. Come splash and play the Pawnee Plunge Way in Columbus from May 31st through August 8th.
You're listening to Big Ten Media Days coverage from Indianapolis, sponsored by T.O. Haas Tire and Auto, Pillar Restaurant Group, and Ben Bleicher of Professional Realty Group of Woods Brothers Real Estate on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Back to the Recruiting Hour with Mike Schaefer and Connor Happer, presented by Bubbles and Blocks on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to the Recruiting Hour. Mike Schaefer here in Lincoln. Connor Happer on the ground in Indy. What happened during the break? Any exciting stories?
No, not that I could hear. You know who the star of the show is today?
No idea.
So the most popular person of the day at Big Ten Media Days, and I can't let me see what the teams are today. So you got Nebraska, Michigan, Northwestern, Penn State, Maryland, Illinois, Minnesota. The most interesting, the most followed person today is Brett Bielema.
Okay. I was not prepared for that.
People have taken
I just was not prepared.
People have taken an interest in Brett Bielema. I was interested when he got up on the stage and said, last time I was here, I was he didn't say this exactly, but last time I was here, we were destroying Nebraska 70 to whatever in the Big Ten championship game in 2012. He didn't say it, but he didn't have to say it. He did say last time I was here, we won a championship though. So, and then I was like, oh, okay, all right, you're here. People are interested in what Bielema has to say.
Well, I mean, he had a lot of success in the Big Ten. I'm really fascinated by that Illinois team, and we haven't seen Nebraska back down at all from the idea that that's going to be a monstrous game for them this season. I know that's been a bit of a talking point. It was the last question. Friend of the program, Jeremy Warner, popped up looking good on television, asked Scott Frost his thoughts on the Week 0 conference game, and Frost right away basically launched into they anticipate it's going to be a tough game, and it's an opportunity for them to start with momentum. I know that you finished basically your interview with Scott Frost talking about that as well. And that Illinois game starts the college football landscape, and it has a lot of value, certainly for both of these teams for a variety of different reasons.
Oh yeah, it's huge. And not to say that, your season's going to go the other way if you lose it, if you're Nebraska, but it's just harder. It's harder to find a way to get to 6 or 7 or whatever you want to be if you don't start. I mean, I really think it's about starting 4-1. I mean, we talk about the first game, and that's obviously super important, but they gotta win 4 out of their first 5 games, and because they're winnable, and then you could find 2 or 3 in the last 7. So. That's doable for Nebraska because it gets real tough in the second half.
No doubt about it. I mean, you have the schedule. You start with Illinois, then you have Fordham, then you have Buffalo, Oklahoma, and then that 5th game is what, Michigan State?
Yep.
I still don't have this schedule committed to memory.
Surprising.
I was gone for 2 weeks. I basically did the best I've ever done with not paying attention to anything outside of the day that Trev Alberts was hired.
I was going to say you were still
on Twitter more than
you were still tweeting a lot. I just put it down when I was like, I'm not going to do anything while I'm on vacation.
I think I only have like 2 tweets a day.
2 tweets a day is a lot of tweets. That's so many tweets.
It's really not. It's 2.
Yeah, but over a week, it's way more than 2. It's like, 14.
Yes, that's how addition works.
I'm just saying. That's a lot. I didn't tweet 14 times while I was on my honeymoon. No. You didn't catch me not tweeting 14 times.
This is true. We weren't subjected to the tweets of wow.
Yeah. I don't add much, I know, but it's fine. We're just gonna keep plugging away. I'll tweet on my work days.
Fair enough. All right, so workday. Let's talk about Trev Alberts. You actually sat down and talked with him a little bit today, and then obviously met with the media. Otherwise, I mean, what are your just initial impressions? Like I said, I wasn't here last week. What are your initial impressions of that opening press conference of essentially, your conversation you had with him today when he's met with the media, just of Trev Alberts in general, because he's kind of been a divisive figure for reasons that I think are entirely unfair. He was asked to enact something that was voted on, and that was his role as athletic director. It wasn't like he went in and wanted to end, UNO football and UNO wrestling, but people hold that against him, and they will. For as long as possible. But he had a successful tenure at UNO, and now he's at Nebraska. And obviously, we've known that name for a long time. But now that you've been able to spend some time around him, you've seen him talk. What are just your general impressions of Trev Albert so far?
I think he's the perfect guy for the job, as we've gotten to kind of know him a little bit more over the last week or so here. He talked a lot on Wednesday and even further in depth. And Monday was his first day on the job. So it's hard to, make or at least state what your evaluation is, of what's going on here. But he's got a lay of the land. He knows what's going on, and he knows. I think he's super sharp, and I think he is super detail oriented, and I think he comes to Nebraska at a time where there's a lot of stuff that is in place that needs to be in place going for Nebraska's in a position to to perform well as an athletic department. And then it just becomes, okay, how can we fine tune? How can we tweak? What do we need on the more, microscopic level that could get us to that point? Because Schaefer, I think you'd agree with this. Like, they're close as an athletic department. It hasn't happened yet, and you feel like, as Frost said, you need some wind under your sails. But it's you can tweak stuff. You can make things happen to get you to that point. And I think Trev is. I think he's the right guy for that particular job.
There's a quote that he had that I really enjoyed that came out of today, and it's basically, I can promise you will never hear me talk about number of wins, low or high. I'm really focused on just narrowing our focus. I like incremental growth and looking at the small fundamental things, because ultimately those things lead to what we all want. I think sometimes we're so focused on the outcome that we forget that the process will be the primary drive in getting the outcome we all want.
Mm-hmm.
Again, talking season, but I like hearing the quiet part out loud. I mean, that's what you want an athletic director to say, because 8 wins, okay, and whatever that means, there's a lot of different ways to get to 8 wins where people can still be unhappy, maybe not coming off of the last 4 seasons, but the number of wins versus how you're getting there and what you're doing to get there and what progress looks like. We have really had to boil it down to just a win total because Nebraska's has been so small, but their aim isn't just to get to 6 and just stick around 6. Their aim is to go higher. And I feel like that quote sort of broaches that, with also pointing out we've got to take care of the small things. You go back to Frost's quote when he was talking at his opening, not necessarily his opening statement, where he was talking about all the little things that they haven't done right in games. I mean, these things all work together. And if you can narrow your focus and you can look for those types of small things to fundamentally get better, you can reach larger heights, and certainly what we've seen the last 3 years.
Yeah, it's execution, man. It's getting the little stuff right. It is Trev talks about fundamentals too. Like that's all a really big deal. I think that is kind of what they were looking for here. And I don't know exactly how the search went. It doesn't feel like Trev was the first guy, certainly, that they called. But I think the fit between what Nebraska needs at the moment and what he brings, which is stability and a wealth of knowledge and everything from his background. But he's a really calm, focused leader. He has that way of making you feel like you're a big deal too. That whole thing, like he'll look. I don't want to use too many cliches, but I just think he's the right guy for the moment for Nebraska. I continue to feel that way.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, when it was announced, I basically was like, okay, this is their guy, and I don't think it's going to matter that he knows Nebraska. What matters is that he's able to connect with these coaches and he can provide them the resources they wanted, and that he's willing to make tough decisions. All of that is still yet to come, but so far I've enjoyed just listening to him, reading the quotes and stuff that has come out of the conversations and the interviews. And so I was curious how it went when you had the chance to kind of sit and talk with him. But obviously there's more than just football for Trev Alberts. I mean, he's going to have a basketball program that still needs to kind of burst through a bubble that has hung over it for the first 2 years of Fred Hoiberg, a baseball program that people are excited to see where it goes, a volleyball program that has been pretty much, or right now is as turnkey of any program. But the athletic department's in a really interesting spot, because you could make the case that if football holds up its end of the bargain, we're not so doom and gloom about Nebraska, because there just feels like there's that light is in the horizon. We're closer to it than we realize, but it still feels so far because football just hasn't been what people expect.
So this is interesting. This is from the Starter Heyman text line at 402-464-5685. Jake in Lincoln says he's basically Eichhorst, but we hope the results are better. And so let's talk about that for a second, because I don't think he's that far off. And I know that sounds like a bad thing, but it's not. Because there was a lot of things that Eichhorst was about, the granular detail stuff, the financial piece of it, that I think he was actually really good at. He was just he was not a great leader, right? Not an excellent communicator, as we've found out later. So you take all that and you put it in the body of Trev Alberts, former, Husker All-American and NFL player. And, he's a really strong, confident leader. And that's completely the opposite of what Eichhorst had. But I think some of the inner workings, it'll be more similar to Eichhorst than Moose for sure. So I actually don't think that he's that far off.
Yeah. And one of the things that Eichhorst probably doesn't get enough credit for is he was all about the student athletes. I mean, he really wanted the student athlete experience to be great at Nebraska. I mean, they started really hammering some of those snacks and some of that stuff in his tenure to just make sure that they felt comfortable, that they were happy, that they had the resources that they needed. And if Alberts brings that along with the ability to manage the coaches and provide the structure that they need while also being the face of a program, that's a much better package than what often felt like was a man sort of behind the shadows that had good intentions, but wasn't capable of explaining what he wanted and never made other people feel all that comfortable about where they were with him.
That's exactly right. And so, I think Trev in those ways is the opposite of Sean, but I think, because I really think he can communicate it. He can do it clearly and all of that stuff. And he's, like I said, he's got this kind of, I've mentioned this to you before, and I think you laughed at me. But Sipple Sipple talks about the pilot test or whatever. And like you walk in, and if, you trust the guy to like fly your plane, like if Sipple was the pilot of your plane, you'd be like, actually, no, I'm going to get off this plane right now. Like he has a coffee stain on his shirt. He looks really disheveled and stuff like that. Like, no, I'm not getting on this plane. Trev Alberts is the pilot of the plane. I'm good with that. That works for me.
I never actually look at who's flying the plane. Like I'm just getting on the plane, probably grumbling because I went through Chicago and I got delayed for another 5 hours, and I just want to get on the plane and go home. I am so trusting whoever is flying that plane. I don't even look to see who it is. I might be a bad person for this analogy.
No, I just like, you don't have to look every time, but if you see him in passing or see him or her in passing, that type of thing. I don't know. I think Sipple's right about that, and I've thought about that a little bit, and it makes sense. And it makes sense in this scenario, Schaefer. You can go back to complaining about traveling.
Oh, anytime. We're going to take a quick break. We will return. We're going to dive into some talking about Nebraska basketball, their new additions, and realignment, which is just going to take over the college football world.
Sponsored by T.O. Tire and Auto. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
We will continue to warm things up here across the area as highs this afternoon up to around 91. A south wind at 15 to 20, and we'll see mostly sunny skies. Clear tonight with a low down to around 70. The heat really builds in for our Friday. Mostly sunny and a high of 97. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning. Now in our new time, we're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
You're listening to Big Ten Media Days coverage from Indianapolis, sponsored by T.O. Tire and Auto, Pillar Restaurant Group, and Ben Bleicher of Professional Realty Group of Woods Brothers Real Estate on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Everyone loves a good deal, and there's plenty of great options right now at Brown Shoe Fit for their summer clearance sale. Check out their multiple sizes and widths in sandals with brands like Clark's, Keen, Atrex, and many more. Hurry in for the best selection because this sale only goes to the end of the month. It's the summer clearance sale at Brown Shoe Fit, just south of 66th and Q in Lincoln. It's Thursday, so head to the Fox Bar and Grill for $7.99 flatbreads, all flavors. Plus, it's bike night at 7 p.m. for bicyclists and motorcyclists, and you can get the party started with $3 Jack Fire and $2.50 Tall Boys. Plus, don't forget all-you-can-eat pizza today and every weekday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., plus a dinner salad for just $10.99. The Fox has new ownership. Come and see what great service and great food looks like. Stop by the Fox Bar and Grill today, just south of 14th and Pine Lake at 1245 Libra Drive.
Mike Schaefer here with five-star child care provider Lee Beecher from Bubbles and Blocks. Let's start with what makes Bubbles and Blocks special.
We have 3 beautiful locations in Lincoln that provide the safety, security, and reliability you need while also bringing a family feel to each classroom at every location.
I also hear some congratulations are in order.
Thank you. Yes, we just won the Lincoln Choice Award for Best Daycare and Preschool for the 3rd year in a row.
What should people do if they want to join the Bubbles and Blocks family?
Call to set up a tour to enroll your child today, or you can visit bubblesandblocks.com to apply to join our team.
The decision to replace your air conditioner will save or waste money for 15 to 20 years. Bryant offers some of the most efficient ACs available, up to 26 here. Schedule your free estimate at BryantLincoln.com.
Summertime is here and the temperature is rising. Beat the heat at the Pawnee Plunge Water Park in Columbus all summer long. Pawnee Plunge features a full day of fun for the whole family, including the flow ride, the only one in Nebraska, a large swimming pool, diving boards, a lazy river, climbing wall, and of course, massive water slides. It's a great place for parties or a great spot to lounge around all day long. Book your party by calling 402-562-4269. Come splash and play the Pawnee Plunge Way in Columbus from May 31st through August 8th.
At Koppel, you can shop online for the most affordable crossovers, SUVs, cars, and trucks. They have new Chevrolet and GMC or used inventory, all at your fingertips. Hi, I'm Sean Callahan, and before I got my car at Koppel, I shopped online at koppelcars.com. I found a vehicle I liked, then I drove that money-saving mile to Koppel in Louisville. You should too. It was just minutes from I-80, or at koppelcars.com.
You're listening to Big Ten Media Days coverage from Indianapolis, sponsored by T.O. Haas Tire and Auto, Pillar Restaurant Group, and Ben Bleicher of Professional Realty Group of Woods Brothers Real Estate on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Back to the Recruiting Hour with Mike Schaefer and Connor Happer, presented by Bubbles and Blocks on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to the Recruiting Hour. One final time here, and then Happer will be taking over from Indy, where he has spent his day learning, listening, getting tackled, learning about targeting and Deontay Williams' thoughts. Quick, let us know. Deontay Williams, pro-targeting or anti-targeting?
Anti.
I am shocked. I cannot believe it. All right. So I mentioned before we went to break that I wanted to talk a little about Nebraska basketball, because even though they don't have media days going on, they essentially had a media day earlier this week. They have a new graduate transfer that I believe appeared when I was gone, Alonzo Verge Jr. What can you tell me about Alonzo Verge Jr.? Because all I noticed is that he scored a bunch of points in a game for Arizona State, was double-digit scorer for them. Sixth man of the year. I'm now looking at his bio. This feels like a good get for Nebraska.
It's a very good get, Schaefer. That it was. I'm glad you picked up on that. Yes, that was the first thing that people noticed. How many points was it in that game?
43.
43 off the bench in a loss by 40 to St. Mary's. He had 43 out of their 56 points. So that's weird. But it's much more than that, Schaefer. They think very highly of him. When we talked to them last week, he had been there. He had just gone through his second practice. Verge had just gone through his second practice, and they're like, "Oh, okay, this guy can really play." I think Trey McGowan's was talking about how people kind of just recognize him for his scoring acumen, his scoring ability, but he can do some other things too, make little plays, stuff like that. The guy's got experience. It feels bigger like every time we talk about it, just, and hearing the players talk about it too. It's definitely a huge get for Nebraska.
What kind of stood out is I'm pretty sure he was the one in that highlight where Eduardo Andre was going to go up and try to swat him, and then he had the really nice, no look behind the back pass to Walker. And the look on Andre's face when that pass happened, he was so sad.
Yes. I think he faked out Bryce too.
Mm-hmm.
In the same clip. So yeah, we're liking what we're hearing basketball wise for sure this year.
What else did you kind of learn when you were over there on Tuesday? They have a different collection of guys. Obviously not wholesale like last time, but it was your opportunity to sort of meet some of the new pieces that's going to make up this Nebraska roster.
Yeah, no, I was intrigued about Bryce McGowan's, and it was, that's a different kind of player that Nebraska's had before. I wonder if you like or have thought about this at all, Schaefer. I'm going to make a comparison for you. So talking to Bryce and the way that he kind of, just the way he speaks, the way he kind of carries himself, and also it relates on the floor a little bit. I will make the comparison to Andrew White. I think he's got some Andrew White. And that is not a bad thing for Nebraska at all. I think we all thought Andrew White was a pretty good player. I think he's actually, he's a more athletic version of Andrew White, but the jump shooting ability, stretching the floor, playing defense, stuff like that. I think it came in my mind when just having a conversation with him. He's a seasoned kind of veteran at that stuff, as he would be from being a 5-star recruit.
Yeah, Andrew White was one of my favorite interviews that I had an opportunity when he first, I think, committed to Nebraska. We talked a few different times, and it was a really good interview. I enjoyed talking with him. So if Bryce McGowan's is that level of interview, I'm excited for that aspect. But if he can also score and do some of the same things that Andrew White was doing, which I am trying to caution myself that like I feel like the expectations for Bryce McGowan are going to be really high out of the gate, and I think that's going to be relatively difficult. But you know, the Andrew White comparison, I like it. If that's real, that's a very good sign for this program.
Well, and then the other thing, just roster wise, or you know, just kind of looking at the team, talking to the team, there's some personalities on the group. I think the addition of Bryce has gotten Trey out of his shell even further, which is a good thing. We sat with Wilhelm Breidenbach for a while, and he's a super interesting guy. I mean, once you get past he looks weird and he wears goggles, like he's actually really insightful and is a smart guy, and a very good basketball player. So there's that piece of it too. I can't remember who else was there that day. But I left thinking, oh wow, there's some personalities here, and that's not that's been atypical for Nebraska basketball recently.
What would it be? Wilcher and Edwards would be the other guys?
Wilcher. Edwards wasn't there, but Wilcher was there. Yeah.
All right. And then I believe Nebraska picked up a commitment in basketball, but I am struggling on my own website to find out. There he is. Husker Hoops lands another 4-star commitment. I don't know anything that happened. Ramel Lloyd Jr. Mm-hmm. What do I need to know about Ramel Lloyd Jr.?
He's pretty good. He's a 4-star. It feels like he's like kind of the, you know, guard, the Trey McGowan's heir apparent potentially. Yeah, that's about what I know.
Okay, that's good enough for me. And then as long as we're just talking about things that continued to happen while I was gone, Rob Childress is back with Nebraska baseball. That's like the best news that I felt like occurred during that entire stretch. I'll give you 30 seconds here to talk about how that's good.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate the time. It is very good. I can confirm. There is buzz about Husker baseball, which is also good.
Okay. Well, you didn't even use all your 30. Do you want to donate any of that to anybody else?
Yeah, I'd like to donate it back to you.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you one last question here as we get out today. Oh, Oklahoma, Texas, go to the SEC. Who are your first calls as Big Ten commissioner to try to expand your conference?
Iowa State and Kansas.
Iowa State, really?
Yeah, I don't know. That's just a personal one. I'm not sure if that would actually be a fit.
I don't know if Iowa would like it. I know that.
They would not.
Oh, well, nobody cares about what Iowa wants. Anyways, we are signing off. Enjoy. Happer's going to stick around, though. Enjoy the show next.
You're listening to Big Ten Media.